So inside of Marso Studio, I'm going to show you how we can make a blacksmith's workshop that we can then put into a 3D render or a game engine. So Marso Studio is designed specifically to make lots of 3D content that's game ready. Rather than focusing on one asset at a time, it's about how do you build out entire scenes. So you can see all of your projects here. I've made quite a few. And to start off, you can create a new project here. So we have 2 templates, and each of these are just preloaded with a few presets. And we're going to go for bulk mode because we want to build a scene. I'm going to go ahead and just delete these because I'm going to show you how we can set this up from scratch. So here we can see all of the different nodes that we can play with, all of our image nodes, our 3D nodes, and some utility nodes, and also a few templates. We can load in an image or we can generate an image. Today we're going to generate an image, and we've got 2 image generation nodes that do very similar things, but they're fine-tuned for different tasks. Image generation is really for one image of an object at a time. Scene generation is designed for entire scenes. So this is what we're going to be using today. So here we have our nodes, and we can type in a prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and type in. The more descriptive you can be, the better the result will be. I'm also going to say no people because I'm not really interested in generating people, and I always like to say photorealistic and lots of detail. So this does look good, but I do think there's too many of the same kinds of objects here. So we've got loads of shoehorns, loads of the same swords. I kind of want some more diversity. So I'm going to do an image edit, and the easiest way to do that is come over here, image edit, and describe your prompt. So I'm pretty happy with this, and now we can move on to actually detecting all of the objects in this scene. So if we come over here, detect objects, and we have a few different options. We can pick between environment pieces, so this would be like walls, windows, we've got set dressing, we've got props, we've got furniture. Now I'm mostly interested in set dressing, props and furniture. I'm not going to be building out the whole environment, and then I just go ahead and click detect. And while that's running, I'm going to show you some other tricks that you can do with scene generation. So if I want to see more of this environment, maybe not this particular area, what we can do is actually say, turn the camera around 180 degrees to show more of the room. And here we can see slightly more of the room. So if I wanted to, I could also detect all of these objects. But let's look at our detection. So at the moment, we've got all of these different objects here that is picked up. We can move around the scene and see which ones we actually want to choose. We've also got a few tags and categories, so if we want to focus particularly on, say, armor, we can see all the armor items. If we want to focus on maybe the axes, we can see all the axes here. Let's detect these. Or maybe we're just interested in the hammers. You can see our selection. So at the moment we haven't got anything selected, so I could select everything. That would give me 36 objects. I can clear that selection. So it's a little bit like making a sort of shopping list, things that you want in your scene. So you can either allow the system to sort of automatically decide which things are most important using this slider here, or you can add them by clicking on them. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to add them. So I like this anvil, that looks great. This barrel, don't really know what this barrel thing is, but I'm going to add that anyway. This armor for the chest, one of these boots. A bellow is quite nice, bottle, hammer, chainmail, why not? And can't go wrong with like a couple weapons if you're making a medieval scene. So I'm quite happy with that. I could go crazy and I could add lots of things, but just for this demo, I'm gonna pick with this selection. So there's about 14 items there. So these items at the moment, these are kind of composited into a main image. And what we're going to do next is actually split them out a bit so we can focus on those individual images. So if I click generate images, this is going to create what's called a group node. So this group node, each of these represents one of those images that we just detected, where we can go in and we can make edits, we can refine each of them individually, and then we can generate them into 3D. And those are all done, and we can see that they match the items that we have in the detect object node. We can edit them if we want. We can rerun them if we're not happy with how it came out. We can click rerun. We can even delete them if we don't want them. So I'm going to edit a few of these. Swords, these look okay, but I want one of them to maybe be broken. So if I click on edit here, this brings up a nested node. So I've got my input image and then the output. And anything I do in the middle here kind of allows me to explore and create and tweak the thing a little bit. So break the sword, quite happy with that. Looks like it's been in battle. Maybe this blacksmith is going to repair it. So if I want to set that as my output, I can just do this. And now that appears here. And I can see that it's been edited by this little orange icon. So I can always come back, and if I change my mind, I can do that. But I quite like it. So go with that. I also want to make this maybe a little bit more shiny. It's a bit too kind of beat up and rusty right now. While that's editing, I'm also going to maybe change this. Cool. Looks good, nice and realistic. So now we can move on to actually turning these from images into 3D objects. And you'll notice that each of them have a number here. So this relates to the poly count. Now we have 50,000 as default, but you can go higher and you can go lower. They will have different credits applied. You can change all of them by using this one here. So I can set all of them to 1.5 million. They're now all at the highest quality possible. Or we could set them all back to default. So anything that has lots of shape, lots of detail, sometimes you might want to set this high. So I'm going to set this one high because it's got lots of kind of shapes and geometry to it. Probably going to do the amble as well, maybe about 1 million. So to move on to 3D generation, you can either do generate 3D from this action, or you can come up here and click generate 3D. And this will create another group node. And now these are all becoming 3D objects. So we can see these are now all 3D objects. If we click on one, the armor here, we can see this is 3D. These don't have PBR yet, so they look a little bit flat and a little bit dull, but that's where the magic comes in. So untick any if you don't want to turn any of them into PBR. Otherwise, come up to the top, generate PBR, and this will add all of the PBR to them. So the final step is image to material. So this is our custom model where we actually look at the object, we understand what it's made from, we know what the correct specular values, metallic, IOR, and roughness are, and we'll author those into the object for you. So these have all come through now. They've all got PBR. And we can go ahead and inspect some of them actually. If we click view PBR over here. So this looks pretty good. We can see it's got a lot of kind of rust on it and dirt, which looks brilliant. And we can come to the bottom here and we can actually inspect the materials. We've got the albedo channel. We've got the metallic channel, the roughness channel, and also we've got the IOR channel. And you can share this individual file with other people and they'll be able to see this link, or you can download it. Also looks pretty good. Some nice detailing here. And once those are done, you can either download them one by one, or you can download this entire group. So if you click download here, it'll give you the option to either download the asset as a 3D file along with the texture maps adjacent to it, or the 3D mesh with the textures embedded into the file as a USD file. And this will give us one massive zip file with lots of subfolders where each subfolder is its own asset. So we can go ahead and download that, and so download will start shortly. If you have quite a large one of these, sometimes depending on your internet speed, we will break this up into 3 or 4 separate zip files, but they all will contain the sum of all of the assets there. So that's been downloaded. Now to build out the scene even more, we can come back to some of those nodes that we created earlier. So I had this node before where we moved the camera around, and I've since detected some objects and turned these into 3D models and added PBR. But if we wanted to have some objects that maybe weren't visible here, so for example, I wanted to have lots of shields, I've used this node to generate 25 different medieval shields, and I've explicitly asked the model to arrange them in a grid on a black background. And then I've said each shield should have a very different look from one another, made from different materials and different conditions. And this allows me to very quickly create a wide variety of different objects within a particular class, and then again move them through the pipeline so that I get lots of 3D objects that are ready to use in my game or 3D environment.